In the year 1951, men and women were pursuing the American dream, following hard economic times left over by the Great Depression and years of fighting during World War II. In 1951, the average home cost around $9,000, and the average price for a car was $1,750. There were also many memorable events that occurred during this year as well. The longest game in NBA history was played on January 6th between the Indianapolis Olympians and the Rochester Royals. After 78 minutes of gameplay and a record 6 overtimes, the game ended with a score of 75-73 in favor of Indianapolis. In San Diego, California, founder and owner Robert Peterson opened the first Jack in the Box restaurant on February 21st. The restaurant focused initially on drive-through service, even though it was not a novel thing at the time. Peterson enhanced this system with a drive-through window, an intercom service, and a giant clown on top of the roof, greeting roadside motorists. This service proved to be much faster than the traditional drive-in window, and has been widely implemented ever since. On February 27th, the 22nd Amendment to the U.S. Constitution was ratified. This amendment limits the number of terms a president may serve to 2 terms. It came after FDR won the election 4 terms in a row. Due to the Great Depression and World War II, Americans didn't want to change leadership during such a challenging time. Eventually, Congress felt that it was an American political tradition to only serve 2 terms, as serving more would be similar to a monarchy. Hank Ketchum's best-selling comic strip, Dennis the Menace, appeared in 16 newspapers across the U.S. for the first time on March 12th. The humor is based on the interaction of a 5-year-old Dennis Mitchell with his parents, neighbors, and various friends. The first panel featured a motorcycle cop who had stopped the family car. As the policeman writes out a speeding ticket, Dennis leans out the window and shouts, "You didn't catch us. We ran out of gas." The comic strip became so successful that it was adapted to other popular media, including several television shows and feature films. The Korean War was still going on and did not have an end in sight. General Douglas MacArthur was fired by President Truman on April 11th for insubordination. Shortly after, President Truman and his new military commanders started peace talks. Still, the fighting continued along the 38th parallel as negotiations stalled. On June 25th, RCA broadcast the first color TV episode from a variety show called Premiere. It aired from 4:35 to 5:34 in the afternoon, but only reached 4 cities: Boston, Philadelphia, Baltimore, and Washington, D.C. Although the colors were not quite true to life, the first program was a success. 2 days later, CBS began airing the first regularly scheduled color television series, The World Is Yours, with Ivan Sanderson. On July 16th, The Catcher in the Rye by J.D. Salinger was published, giving a new hero to teens everywhere. The book, about a confused teenager disillusioned by the adult world, is an instant hit and was taught in high schools for many years. Walt Disney's 13th animated feature film Alice in Wonderland premiered in New York City on July 28th. Disney had been trying to create the film adaptation of the classic Lewis Carroll novel since the 1930s. When the film was finally finished and released in 1951, it was considered a flop and received negative reviews from film critics. The movie was re-released in the 1970s to a more favorable critical response. On September 28th, the science fiction film The Day the Earth Stood Still was released. The film was set in the Cold War during the early stages of the nuclear arms race and involved a humanoid alien visitor who comes to Earth accompanied by a powerful robot to deliver an important message that will affect the entire human race. I Love Lucy premiered on October 15, 1951, and aired on Monday nights at 9 p.m. In the first season, the show reached over 10 million viewers and went on to become one of television's most beloved and enduring programs of all time. When CBS first approached Lucille Ball with the offer of turning her popular radio show, My Favorite Husband, into a television show, she was agreeable with one condition: that her real-life husband, Desi Arnaz, would be cast in the role of her spouse. On October 16th, Judy Garland began her concert series at the Palace in New York City. The original 4-week run was extended to a record 19 weeks due to the incredible demand for tickets and the show's success. Everyone who saw her would never forget the experience of seeing her live on stage. On October 20th, the CBS Eye Logo made its debut on television. Creative director Bill Golden, who designed the logo, was inspired when he drove through the Pennsylvania Dutch country. He became intrigued by the hex symbols resembling the human eye that are drawn on shaker barns to ward off evil spirits. With the help of graphic artist Kurt Ways, the eye logo was created. Originally, the center of the eye was a camera iris that opened and shut. Every time it opened, a viewer could see CBS Television Network written on it. On December 11th, baseball legend Joe Dimaggio announced that he was retiring. He spent his entire career playing for the New York Yankees as a center fielder and had just come off a World Series win. Dimaggio is widely regarded as one of the best baseball players in history and was inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame in 1955.